Welcome back to the People's Basics, the home of the universal basics. It's time for another episode of our People's Platform where we talk to members of the community like you about the issues that you care most about in political advocacy. Today, we're going to be talking to Antonio Gisbert. He is working a ballot initiative in Oregon to try and get a basic income from the state. We want to remind you all that you can sign up as well by going to our link tree and signing up for the show through our Calendly. And we also remind you all to make sure that you're subscribed so that you're always notified when we got new content. But without further ado, let's bring on Antonio Gisbert and talk about basic income. Antonio, welcome to the People's Basics.
Thank you, John, and hello to you and the universal people out there. Like you said, my name is Antonio, and I am the chief petitioner of a new people-powered, nonpartisan ballot initiative in Oregon that we call the Oregon People's Rebate. And it basically does two things. It rebates about $750 to every Oregonian every year, and it's super universal. The only eligibility requirement is to be an Oregonian, which we define as somebody who spends more than 200 days in the state the previous year. So anybody who does that, regardless of age, income, or status, would qualify to get a rebate. And that's the rebate side of the equation. Folks might think, hey, that's great. But where does this money come from? And we have a really easy answer for that, which is big Wall Street corporations barely pay any taxes at all in Oregon. In fact, after $25 million of revenue, big corporations pay less than 1/8 of 1%. We propose to increase that to 3%, and all that new revenue just gets divided up equally among every Oregonian. Just going back to some of the numbers, so a family of four, right, would get about $3,000 tax-free rebate. And also, it's important for the community. The rebate stacks on top of any other income-based benefits that people might be receiving. And
yeah, Antonio, I have to say, it sounds like a great effort, and I'd like to ask you just a couple of questions about it. When you guys were thinking about doing a rebate program, was there any reason you were thinking about trying to go to a more annual model versus, some basic income advocates love the idea of trying to test out kind of more monthly models? When you were trying to come with this petition, what was the overall goal? Was it just to try and get a little bit more money into people's pocket? Was it try to do a pilot study to try and build more evidence? What kind of inspired you to start leading this petition effort?
Yeah, I think that's there's a lot there. So the money that we generate is about $3 billion, roughly. And so there's about 4 million Oregonians, and that's how we get to the about $750. 4 million Oregonians receive an equal share of $3 billion. If we were to split that out on a month-to-month basis, it'd be a little bit over $60 per person. Mm-hmm. And that's good. And obviously, at the end of the year, that's the same amount of money. But we thought that it'd be more powerful for the recipients, the people of Oregon, to get the money in a lump sum. And there's a ton of research to suggest that that lump sum cash transfers can be really effective in alleviating poverty, edge poverty, and in fact, our friends from the friends have done some research and figured out that overall poverty in Oregon will decrease by about 15%, and childhood poverty will decrease by 26% through the Oregon People's Rebate. The lump sum payment as well is similar to the Alaska Permanent Fund Dividend. Most of your audience will be familiar with that. Over there, it's a little bit more. It's about $1,200 a year, the last 10 years average. So that's sort of the money that we're talking about. A family of four gets $3,000, and we think that's enough to to break out of a poverty rut, whether it is getting a better car so you can more reliably go to work back when we used to go to work, um, or maybe moving to a better apartment, or just having that capacity to not be stuck.
Yeah. And that you brought up the Alaska, basic income program. I have to note one difference from traditional basic incomes that we talk about with that program. It's a dividend model. So rather than saying a fixed number is how much we're going to provide, like in your instance, you talked about 750, they have it be a variable amount based off of how much tax revenue they raise, specifically around oil and gas. And I wanted to ask you, when you were coming forward with this proposal, was there a reason why you felt it was better to give kind of that predictability in how much income someone's going to receive rather than it be a dividend, which you can kind of say is guaranteed to be, debt neutral, because you're not going to have to worry that you're giving people more than you collected in taxes, nor less, because you're just distributing whatever you raised. Was there a reason you chose that approach?
Yeah, and let me back up a bit. So the 750 is an estimate. So
Okay.
the state will or the new higher minimum tax will generate about $3 billion, and there's about 4 million Oregonians. So it'll go up and down a bit, much like the Alaska Permanent Fund dividend goes up a bit. The key, we did quite a bit of research on the Alaska model, and it was very important for us to not make a financial instrument a dividend, because some politicians, every decade or so, they look at this giant pool of money in Alaska, and then there's like a huge battle about people just trying to grab into that huge pool of money because it's kind of tempting. It's just a lot of money there. And so the way we design the Urban People's Rebate is that all the money that comes in goes out. The state can recoup cost of making the rebates, but that's very minor cost. I mean, the state already sends people money every year when they overpay their taxes. In Oregon, we have a thing called the kicker, which is kind of like this weird thing. The Urban People's Rebate is like the kicker done right. So that's one of the things we say in the state. But yeah, it's important that like these programs that we develop, right, they happen within a political context, and it's important to make sure that we build incentives so that people behave well.
Sure.
And
Okay.
and so we're helping people not get greedy in a way.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. Can you talk through what that process has been like to advocate for a ballot initiative, actually getting it to be on the ballot, and what it takes, at least in Oregon? Obviously, it may be different for different states, but what was that process like to try and get something like that to be considered as a ballot initiative?
So it's been an amazing, wonderful experience. Um, in Oregon, to get on the ballot it's relatively easy. We're a smaller state, so it's not very expensive. It's expensive, but it's not like California
Sure.
expensive.
Yeah.
And really, you need a couple things, right? You need you need to propose a law that is like some words on a piece of paper that are like not patently unconstitutional or illegal, right? So that's one.
Sure.
And then you need to collect about 100,000 signatures,
Okay.
112,020 ballot signatures in the state of Oregon, which is a lot, but that's just the number. And then, of course, once you get those signatures by a given date, which for our case is August 8th, 2022, then you are on the ballot, and then you need to just win a simple majority of the electorate. And that's the process in general. And the amazing thing is having the conversations and working together to develop and design the ballot initiative. And that was a super amazing process. 12 of us, mostly low middle income people. Some folks nobody in the group was an attorney. Nobody in the group was a politician. Some folks in the group were experiencing houselessness at the time. And so it's like a super, super people-powered effort to sort of reimagine corporate tax law and a partial solution to help people make ends meet a little bit more easily, right?
Mm.
And this all happened before the pandemic, by the way. And so from that process, then there's just some like filing of paperwork, meeting some legal hurdles, and now it's just going out on the street and talking to people. And the Urban People's Rebate, much like I imagine most UBI programs or proposals, are extremely popular, right? So when we're out there collecting signatures and you just like find, the person in the farmer's market or walking out of the store or whatever, you say, hi, how you doing? Are you an Oregon voter? Yes, fantastic. Could you use $750? Of course, people say yes, right?
Yeah.
Because that is the condition that we're in this economy. And for us, the other part of our equation is: do you think that large corporations like Comcast are paying their fair share in taxes? And of course, the
Most.
answer is no.
Yeah.
And so then it's very easy because we are people who have designed a law to help ourselves, seeking people to get it on the ballot. So it's like it's
Mm.
super people centric,
Mm.
and
So
that's a beautiful thing.
I totally agree with you. It definitely sounds like a very grassroots effort. Antonio, my final question that I have for you is how people can get involved in actually helping this, as well as why you think it's a good use of resources advocacy wise to focus on potentially some of these ballot initiative campaigns compared to I think a lot of people are very used to donating to politicians and candidates. Can you talk about why this is a good use of advocacy time where if people are interested in getting involved, they can get plugged in?
Yeah, thank you so much, John. So the good thing about a ballot initiative is that there are words on a page that you decide to either support or not support. And so I don't have to make you any promises, right? I don't have to tell you that I'm a candidate, that I'm in favor of this or that. And because it doesn't matter what I think, what matters is these words on the page. So from that perspective, it's very immediate, right? Um, there's also an efficiency to a ballot initiative. Again, these words on a page become law if voted upon by the voters of the jurisdiction, in this case, the state of Oregon. You can spend, so it is an expensive thing, right? You know, we have a budget, but to throw out a number to your audience, with $1 million, we would be almost guaranteed to win, like almost guaranteed to win. But with $1 million in a normal campaign, it just doesn't go that far, right? Plus, you cannot have like one candidate that's in favor of a given policy. You need to have a majority of electeds who are in favor of that policy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I do want to say that we do not we're not trying to fix every problem in the world, and we do not think that our solution is the only right solution. And so, like any good process and any good conversation, we all have to be doing our part, and it's perfectly fine and even better for people to be trying slightly different things. So we have this ballot initiative in Oregon. We think it's great. That's just us. I know there are also candidates running who are interested in UBI, and their vision of how UBI might work might be slightly different from the Oregon People's Rebate, and that's perfectly fine. And so, great on us, great on them, great on everybody. Let's do stuff, right? Like uh, we sort of live in the world that we created in the past, right? And so, like today, we're working to make tomorrow better, and everybody should find what they like to do and what they want to do, and then just do it.
Yeah.
For us, our webpage is OPR 2022, Oregon People's Rebate 2022.org, OPR 2022.org, and folks can go there. And if you are not in Oregon, you know, uh, please like our stuff on social media, and if you can afford to chip in a bit of money, that's fantastic. We love to. We need help. If you are in Oregon, obviously you can also donate, but also more importantly, you can download or print a signature sheet and contribute to that number of 100,000 signatures. We're going through, we're starting winter months. It's a little bit cooler and wetter over here.
Yeah.
So we're doing a lot of signature gathering by mail, where we mail people a signature sheet packet with a postage paid return envelope, and then they just get your housemates or like your family to also sign, and then mail that back. And that's how we're going to get to our number. Obviously, when spring comes, we'll be much more visible out on the street every day. But yeah, like every little bit helps with us or with whoever else. I encourage the universal people to actively do. Thank you.
Yeah, Antonio, I particularly loved one line that you said in why ballot initiatives are so important. You don't have to trust a single person, trust the words on the piece of paper.
Yeah.
And it's basically this direct form of action where we can say, we don't have to trust any figure out there to continue to represent us and adopt certain labels and have the whole package. This is specific language, and we should try and get it adopted. So please go visit the website of opr2022.org, and we will include that link as well in the description section if you need some handy reference to it as well. Antonio, I want to thank you for coming on the program today. Do you have any final words that you want to share with the universal people? Or we always give the invitation to turn the tables. Do you have any questions for me as we wrap up today's program?
Yeah, I'll ask you, Jon. I'm sort of new to your community, but tell me a little bit about how you got into universal basic income.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So I've been a universal basic income advocate for a while. I would say since 2017. I remember seeing Bernie Sanders actually at a town hall being asked about this question, and I had not heard entirely of the idea. And I'll admit at the time it sounded a bit too good to be true. Like, let's hear some more data about this. And I started studying it and hearing more about like the models that were occurring in Finland and some of the studies that were occurring there. And I had been seeing some pretty consistent results out of these studies once I started looking into it, where it regularly increased people's health, primarily in mental health as well as physical health, being able to afford healthier products or being able to take care of yourself. And I thought that was wonderful as just a general idea. I had some concerns around funding stuff back then, where I had some concerns about like Yang's plan when he ran. But over time, I've started to prioritize it more and more, because when I have been comparing it to so many other forms of welfare that are intended to help people, this provides such a degree of economic liberty, the ability to actually choose for yourself what is right for yourself. And I had one moment in particular that I found very eye-opening. And I was already a UBI supporter at the time, but it kind of made it go up my list of prioritizations. During the year 2019, I was walking through New York City, and I regularly will help out at homeless shelters, but I had met this one homeless individual on the street, and I had some time to kill, and so I was willing to buy this man who was asking for change to get a meal. I just decided to buy him a meal. And we sat down and talked for a while, having some Burger King, and I was just talking through a variety of things, like how his life had been, and I wanted to just know, like, what could actually help? Because I'm always a political person at that point. I wanted to just talk through what would really be able to change their life. And I talked to them about programs like a universal basic income, Medicare for all, jobs guarantee, housing for all, a variety of different programs. And when I had made mention of universal basic income, the man just cried, tears of joy. And I had realized how much it allowed him to just be a person, to make his own choices for himself and not feel like he's being put into this environment where he has to just be a cog in the machine or worry for his safety. He can make choices for himself and feel empowered again. And it made me realize how important it was. I certainly liked it, but it made it rise up to either my one or two behind democracy reform, because you got to make the system work to get these ideas. But yeah, that's my journey towards universal basic income. And there's a lot more I could talk about of how like automation at work impacted me and seeing how people would lose their jobs. And but yeah, those moments I just made mention of were the big things that rose up my priority ranks. So thank you, Antonio, for that question.
Yeah, thank you, Jon. That's beautiful, knowing where you came from. For me, it's like about 20 years back, I was really into microfinance,
Hmm.
and in a way, it's sort of like the seed to this idea of, if what low income people need is income. It's
Yeah,
and
it's
and
that
and the
simple.
right, and it's like, if you're hungry, food's good. And also the power of, like, is even a modest amount, right? $715 is, depending on, like, your one's personal level of privilege, is not that much money. But to think that $750 per person is going to decrease childhood poverty in Oregon by 26%, is just shocking. And the cost, again, is to have Comcast pay a little bit more in taxes. Well, that's fine. I mean,
They
like,
can afford it. Yeah.
yeah, they can afford it, and they should, and the payoff to society is giant, right? And so, yeah, I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, and I'm wishing you all the best of luck at the OPR. For people, again, who want to get involved, please check the description section down below to get involved in their organization, to either donate, just support them on social media, spreading the word, or if you're in Oregon, making sure that you are signing up to get it onto the actual ballot. Antonio, thank you again for visiting us here at the People's Basics.
Thank you so much, John. Have a great one.
Okay, everyone. So that was Antonio Gisbert. Again, hit that description section so that you can find out how to support their organization's effort for a ballot initiative, and to make sure that you've properly joined our community so that you can sign up to come on episodes like Antonio did, or to send us questions for the basic brief that we have come out every Friday, or to join us on our Discord where we do organizing for our various candidates like Charles Booker, Erica Smith, and Alan Ellison. Please come get involved at the home of the Universal Basics, the People's Basics. We will all see you all next week. This has been another episode of the People's Platform.